What are you
John,
doing?
look out. Here
Why are you looking
comes
at me
here
like
comes
that?
the tongs.
Don't grab me with the...
Oh, jeez, they
help
grabbed
me.
him.
Stop. Billy,
Oh,
Billy,
no.
help me. Just put me in the cage. Billy,
It's
Billy's
okay,
loading
buddy.
me to the spider.
He's not very smart. He might just go for
Billy,
the tongs.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
He might just
I don't
go
know
for
if
the
I'm gonna make it
tongs.
out. Hopefully I do, but if I don't see
Oh,
it, John,
please
I
go
love
for
you,
the
buddy.
tongs. I love you, John.
Oh, I love it so much. Oh, shit, it sees me. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's right. Go
Oh,
for the tongs. There
not me.
you
Go
go.
for the tongs, not me.
Look, John, he
He
missed
went
you.
for the tongs. You got another quista, stupid.
Is that you, Billy?
John, I'm on my
Billy,
way.
is that you?
I'm on my way. Is that...
Be careful.
Is that the carabina?
He knows where to grab
That's a
now.
big... It's so big. Hopefully it gets the
Oh, no.
tongs.
Not your neck,
my neck,
John.
my neck. It didn't get
Oh.
the tongs.
Oh,
I love you, John. Oh, jeez. Poor Billy just wanted the help.
All right, hey, I hope you enjoyed that little sketch I put together. I shot too much footage today, and I was like, well, this will be fun. Let's give that a rip. Now, when I got my Versicolor as a sling, I got it from a local pet store, as I try and do. Of course, Fear Not Tarantulas is the best in the business when it comes to things that the locals don't have. When I first got it, I actually received it in a Dram vial, kind of like this. Not very big, you know. That doesn't give you scale, but makes me feel better. But it was a setup quite similar to this one. I'll throw up a picture of the original here. When I used to have it in that setup, the way that I would go about regulating that humidity was I would really wait till it was either almost bone dry or bone dry, or if the tarantula was molting or molted, I would add a little extra water, but with a pipette, and I would literally just drop the water into its web where it could get to it as soon as it needed it. Which, if you do when they're molting, also prevents your spider from chewing up their molt, if you can do it in a way that doesn't stress them out. Speaking of molts, I'll show a picture of this molt right here. And that is a molt I currently still have, and there's no way you'll be able to see it because it's tiny. But there it is in there. And originally that was my smallest tarantula, so it's a big merit of mine that I've let it get as big as it is. Moving right along, what I feed my slings, my Versicolors and Avic slings, is small mealworms, small crickets, or small dubia roaches. If they're really small, I'm talking like third and star, you can even feed them flightless fruit flies. Make sure to store your flightless fruit flies away from where you store your tarantulas. They can get parasitic mites, and you don't want that. Let's jump on to how I used to take care of my tea as a juvenile.
Got everything I wanted.
I also have some pictures that are a little more aesthetic.
Hey, feeling good.
When they were a juvenile, what I did was, and my Avic Pooperia currently lives in here, but this is the Amac bots I used to use for my Versicolor. That is even the Versicolor's web in there still, as you can tell from the pictures. What's really neat here is I was in kind of a craze with anything avicularinae with the SADS disorder, which is sudden avicularian death syndrome, which is a complete myth. Don't worry about it. But look at all this cross ventilation. That's the show face. But look at all this cross ventilation. I got an X pattern there, an X pattern there, and an X pattern there, and there's even top ventilation. When you set up an enclosure like this is just an Amac box. You can run out to the container store to pick one up. Is when now my Pooperia is in there, right? But they want to stay up in their web. So now you can get in here, you can take care of the boluses, fill the water dishes, add water to your substrate, all that stuff, because these carabina Versicolor, they want to stay up high because they're a high arboreal species. So when your lid is your enclosure, it really makes it easy and it keeps you from wrecking their web all the time. Now, what I feed them at this size, just medium versions of everything else, and no lightless fruit flies, because they're too small for their chelicerae to grab. That's something you really got to watch out for, and that's how you end up with random critters running around in your enclosure. anywho's, let's jump right into one of the reasons I love this species. Of course, that bright blue coloration as a sling. And obviously, those tremendous web socks. Also, for your next generation of heavy webbing slings, they'll move right in. They won't even mind. It's crazy. Something to be wary of with your C Versicolor is the fact that they have type 2 urticating hairs. And what that means is, unlike Aphanopelmas or Brachypelmas, Grammostolas, they do not kick their urticating hairs. You have to physically touch them. Pretty funny, Avics have the same thing, and sometimes people would think they wanted to be pet and then end up with itchy hands. So that's, look out for that. Now for how I take care of them as a sub-adult who needs more of their vertical space and a bigger footprint overall because they have a bigger feet print overall. I have opted for a food storage container. Mine is vertical and wide but narrow, and I'll show you what I mean. It's vertical, it's about 12 inches, and you can see her there just enjoying a roach. And it is wide, but it is narrow, right? Because what I wanted to do was replicate kind of where they live in the wild. And normally you'll find them on the side of trees, banana trees, hiding in between those leaves. So they're in a wide space on a narrow valley. If that makes sense. It probably doesn't. That's fine. Here is some footage of carabina versicolor and those like it in the wild. Hobby here. Go check out World of Spiders. That's where I got that content. And boy, oh boy, do they have even better content where that came from. And now you know what I mean. So, kind of the same concept, right, as the first two enclosures, which is cross ventilation and humidity mitigation so you do not choke out this creature with damp, heavy air. Now I have a small fan set up on my spider shelf so that way air is constantly moving. So the ones up top are actually getting a whoosh of air straight through their enclosures. A very light breeze, it's not like gale force or anything. But that's going to replicate what happens in the trees. At least that's how I think about it and why I did it. So for that reason, I've actually, in all three of my Poecilotheria and carabina enclosures, I put the cross ventilation holes in the same spot, and then ventilation holes in the rear and on the edges, so that way there is always air moving throughout the enclosure, and I even have a little bit of air ventilation on the front. Sorry, I don't want to disturb them too much. They look like they're happy. And I do notice that it is a top opener, so what I did, and while the spider's distracted, I'll just go ahead and show you. They have kind of a plunger style vacuum seal, so that's neat. So when the handle goes down, it suctions to the top, even with the air ventilation. you make me look dumb, huh? But anyway, what I have going on here, to prevent them from webbing to the top, because as you can tell, there's a nice, like, 1.5 inch gap. Between their web and the actual top. What's great about that, and how I did it, was I spread a super duper, you can't see it, I don't know why I'm trying to show you, thin layer of cooking oil. It's actually vegetable oil. And that prevents them from webbing to it. It won't stick, nor will their feet, so they have no desire to be there because it's so hard to move around. So that's a good way to keep webbing off the top of an enclosure of this style. Eventually, I'm going to be moving her into a nice Exoterra, probably 12, 8, 12. Yeah, 12 tall, 12 deep, 8 wide. No. 12, 12. It's 12, 8, 12. Or is it 12, 8, 8? The tall nano. That's what I want to put this one in, just like I have one of my Avics in, and they love it, and I'm sure they will too. Or I'll build my own enclosure, and you can believe there'll be a video about it. That is all the information I have to give you. So now, please enjoy a spinning view of my juvenile carabina Versicolor enclosure. Skid it! Enjoy your bird content. Alright, everybody's getting ready for bed, but I promised bonus content. Oh no, there's no lighting. There's no lighting. Hold on. Okay, that's better. Now there's light. Who wants some millet? Who wants some millet?